Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Happy Clover Bear. So I know that I've been gone for a really long time. I did film one video in preparation for me starting college, but it was like so corrupted that it literally paused like in the middle and cut out like 3 minutes of it. So I was unable to post that, and then I just got so like overworked and stuff. I wasn't able to focus on YouTube, but I'm glad to be back. I'm not going to be as consistent as I was over the summer, but I'm going to be trying to post as much as possible. And also, if nothing's happening in my life and I don't feel like I have anything to talk about, then I'm not going to record. So anyway, as you saw the title, we're going to be talking about a little situation that took place today. I made a friend, my first friend that I made in college, called Red. That's what we're calling her for the purpose of this video. And, you know, even, like, throughout when we were just getting to know each other, she would just constantly throw whitewashed in our conversations. And, like, it was funny at first because I know that I'm a little bit, you know, and I really hate to say this, I guess I'm not as black as some other black people. And I guess that's the main theme of this video, is that, like, being loud and obnoxious and sexual. Oh, actually, I have to censor that word, but anytime I mean, look at this screen, I'm gonna say egg. So being loud and egg does not equal being black. And at the same time, being educated, well off, and reserved does not equal being white. So yeah. So on Friday, what happened? I brought like some food, and I had the food in there, and I was waiting for Red to come because I was gonna give her some. And then she came and got hers because I was saving some for her. And then these other people, they kind of were like eyeing it, and I was like, y'all can come have some. So they introduced themselves to me, and we all just started talking. And we got in there around like 11 o'clock, and I was in there until like 2:30. Like, we stayed and we had a little key. And so we were introduced to the Pogues, which is like two people that they don't really need names, so they're just called the Pogues, Salad and Rat. And somewhere in our conversation, I'm not really sure why, because I just really don't remember, Red, she started being very like egg explicit, despite me telling her that like there was a lot of high schoolers in the room and a lot of teenagers and underage people. And even when I tried to tell her that, she said she didn't care, and I told her that was the problem. And I even told her, like, I understand like where you're from, you're used to talking like this, and like we just don't do that here. That's, you know. And also tried to tell her that like it's just not appropriate to talk like that around kids. And then to try and justify it, she turned to this child who like he told us that he was in high school, 17 years old. And she turns to him and she asks, "Are you egg active?" And everyone in the room was like, "You cannot ask a child that." Like, and the thing is, like, I didn't necessarily bring her there, but she was like my friend, and she kind of came with me. So now I'm like, I spent the whole interaction kind of being embarrassed and apologizing on her behalf, because I just felt embarrassed. Like, it, you know, I brought her with me. It seems like I'm okay with her behaving this way. And she, every time I would try to tell her, like, stop talking like that, you're making everybody uncomfortable, she kept saying, well, you're whitewashed, you don't get it, you're whitewashed. Okay, so I already knew that on Monday I was going to tell her, like, please do not be talking, like, about egg and stuff around me or, like, any other people, because people are uncomfortable when you do that. And I feel like she has a hard time respecting people's boundaries, because from her, like, she grew up in foster care and stuff, and I feel like, you know, the people she was surrounded by, she's not used to saying, no, I don't want you to do that, and people listening, if you get what I'm getting at. And I knew I was gonna have a conversation with her about that, but, you know, I hadn't been thinking about it too much. So then today on Monday, she was kind of off, but she has her off days, so I didn't really think much of it. And then I said good morning to her, and she said good morning with attitude. And then she, like, I was trying to talk to her, and she just kind of ignored me and then brushed me off and was like, oh, that guy's trying to talk to you. And then once we got in our classroom, she moved across the room. And I don't have BPD, but I do experience splitting. So, and that's just like when one bad thing happens with a person and you have to like not interact with them and like do a whole bunch of work to try and get your mind to not hate them. And so I spent the whole class like blasting my music, doing my affirmations. Like, people have their own lives with their own issues going on. You don't have that much of a hold on people's emotions. And the thing I kept having to understand or remember is that, at the time I didn't think that I had done anything to make her upset at me, and she has a lot of family issues. So I just kept telling myself like it has nothing to do with me. And then later on in the class, our teacher was like going around talking to different people. And when he got to her, he ended up pulling her out of the room. And then later on, he asked Banks, one of our classmates, to grab tissues. So I knew she was crying. And I did feel bad that she was upset, but I was also relieved because I didn't think I had done anything that would have prompted her to cry. Once class ended, I walked with Glee, one of our mutual friends, because I needed to talk to someone to continue to distract myself. Because like, even though I didn't feel as anxious about it anymore, it's easy for me to like slip back into that. And so he started saying to me like I seem very rich and whitewashed, and I hate it so much when people call me whitewashed. Like, y'all hear how I speak, but on here, because this is my diary. But in real life, like, sometimes I use a higher vocabulary, but that doesn't make me white. And what so many people don't know about me or my family is that we do have money struggles. And while we're not as bad off as we used to be, or as some other people, I'm nowhere near rich or monetarily privileged. Like, I do have to think about what I'm doing with my money. My college was not easy to finance or anything. And so for lunch, since Red was in a bad mood, I sat with the Pogues and Rat, another mutual friend. And Rat, for context, she has like, I guess, autism, and like the way she interacts with people is kind of different. Like, she has a hard time taking turns, and like she shakes a lot when she talks, when she gets excited. And just save that in your mind for later, okay? So Red called me, but I didn't hear, so I called her back, and then she didn't answer. So I assumed that she was probably trying to find me, and she just decided to head home when I didn't answer. And then we all decided to sit outside on the little patio, and I hear a little zoo. And for context, Red rides a scooter around campus. She came up and told me that she needed to speak to me. So when she pulled me aside, she said that I called her ghetto on Friday and that she didn't like that. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, I don't think I ever said the word ghetto, but I definitely called her loud. At the same time, yes, Red is a pathological liar, but she didn't have a reason to lie. And if she was crying about it, obviously it hurt her. I apologized and then brought up how she made me feel really uncomfortable and embarrassed when she started speaking egg. And mind y'all, she did it in detail. I didn't even say that at first. But when she told me about myself, I admitted it, even though I didn't remember it. And I gracefully apologized. And then when I tried to tell her about herself, she has all these excuses. She said that in Miami, they talk like that, and that regardless of someone's age, she wouldn't put anything past them. But at the same time, there's no logical reason to ask a child if they're egg active. As somebody, especially as somebody who has never spoken to them before. Also, she was bragging about her experiences that she had when she was 5, and she doesn't understand that it's because of the trauma that she has, and that isn't normal. And also, she says that her being like hyper egg is normal, and that the Pogues and I were strange for not being so casual with it being brought up, that topic, We were able to resolve it, and she agreed to stop talking about eggs so extensively, especially when it is contextually inappropriate. And I didn't check her about calling me whitewashed, but I know for a fact that if I did call her ghetto, it was in response to that. I would never call anybody that without a reason, because it hurts the same as being called whitewashed. It makes you question your identity, and it promotes self-hate in both regards. It makes you hate how black you are or how not black you are, and it's just, both terms are not a good way to refer to people. They're very hurtful. Also, as a side note, honestly, I had no clue that ghetto meant low class or poor. I always heard it used as a negative way to describe black people, so I thought that that's what it meant. Like, it was like a derogatory term. And moving forward, I need to advocate for myself and not let retaliation build up, because I genuinely think that if I did say that, I said it, in response to that, and that's not okay. I should have just told her, don't call me whitewashed, especially because we were in a group of white people, and that's just not the right thing to do. And also the Pogues and Mia, they're pagan, and they started talking about being pagan and stuff, and you could already tell that I don't really care. Like, I respect everything. I really don't mind, as long as you don't enforce it on me. But Red, she was like, I don't mess with that, that's demonic and stuff. And then they did the whole spiel that like every pagan person does to a Christian person, like, oh, it's not demonic, it's, it started out Christian, all this stuff, right? And even with all that being said, she was still uncomfortable with it, so they should have stopped talking about it. But then one of the Pogues proceeds to pull out a deck of tarot cards, and while yes, it is just paper with ink on it, it doesn't do anything. Red, you know how people are, confirmation bias. If she thinks that it's demonic and this stuff starts happening, she's gonna think it has to do with that, because then when we had the discussion today, she was telling me that when one of the Pogues brought out the deck of tarot cards, that she started feeling itchy and she started getting a headache, and that she got cuts on her body, and then she said she felt like a weight on her all day. And y'all, this is what I mean by confirmation bias. I'm gonna explain to y'all what all of those things probably were. The scratches on her body were probably from her scratching herself, because I did catch her doing that, and I thought it was strange, but people got itchy skin, whatever. Her having itchy skin and having a headache probably had to do with her being dehydrated, because when you're dehydrated, your skin gets itchy or your skin gets dry, and when it gets dry, it gets itchy. And, when you're dehydrated, you get a headache. And then with her feeling a weight on her, I have no idea what that was about. That could be purely mental, But at the same time, if she claims that I, like her feelings that day, like, that will follow you. That will, I've had my feelings hurt before many times, even when she called me whitewashed, and it definitely did feel like a weight on me. Like, I just couldn't let it go. So I feel like she was trying to use all those things that kind of had nothing to do with tarot cards and paganism as like a reason why she didn't want to hang out with the people. Like, if you don't want to hang out with someone because of their religion, just say that. Like, I don't agree with that, but you don't have to try and make up reasons like, oh, they brought out tarot cards and the tarot cards were the reason why I got itchy and stuff. Please keep in mind, I'm not even pagan, and like, honestly, I don't have religion. And at the end of the day, like, yes, the Pogues were wrong for doing that, because like, bringing out tarot cards to a Christian person in front of a Christian person is the same as like a Christian person bringing out a Bible in front of pagan people, Like, just don't do that. Respect everybody's space. And also, it was a lunch conversation. We shouldn't have even been talking about religion. But anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Bye, Pookie.